slimy yellow teeth as she kissed his mouth. She had no idea who was curled up in her bed. She took deep breaths, trying to calm her stomach enough so she could stand up. She had to brush her teeth, had to scrub away this disgusting taste. Dog breath and him, whoever the hell that was out there. She scrubbed until her gums bled. His smell was still on her. Larry Bellow. She froze with her hand on the doorknob, suddenly afraid it was him. Larry had never been right since his diving accident at the quarry years ago. Most people avoided him because he was such a nuisance, but she had always gone out of her way to be nice to him. My God, she hadn't gone that far out of her way, had she? No, the guy in the bed was thin, and Larry was huge. And besides, Larry didn't drive. Maybe it was someone she didn't even know, a total stranger, someone she'd met on the way into the building last night. When she came out of the bathroom, he was gone. The blanket lay heaped on the floor. The front door was ajar. Across the hallway, Mr. Clinch's door opened as he reached out for his newspaper. Their eyes met, and he looked away. She darted back inside and yanked up the shade to see her lover running barefoot down the walk to his car. His shirt was unbuttoned, and he carried his shoes. He glanced up as he fumbled his key into the door lock. She saw the panic on his face, the terror, the same revulsion she was feeling. It was Brad Glidden. Chrissy and the new baby were coming home from the hospital in the morning. This morning. Today. In that car. The car she had left the party in. The very same white Volvo station wagon that was squealing out of the parking lot now. Bastard. No good bastard, she muttered as she turned on the lights, wincing in the glare. What had she been thinking, sleeping with Brad Glidden? But, as usual, she hadn't been thinking, hadn't cared or been careful. And now this mess. Nothing but messes, nothing but goddamn messes, 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 she groaned as she kicked the scattered clothes into a heap. She staggered and had to catch herself on the table edge. She hated her life, hated her new apartment in this decrepit building. After 6 weeks, she was still living out of boxes. It was too small and dark and more expensive than her old place, where she'd still be if she hadn't taken pity on Todd Prescott last summer. Because of him, she'd been evicted, and her family had washed their hands of her. And to top it all off, she'd just slept with Chrissy's husband. Oh, Jesus Christ, what's wrong with me? She moaned, pressing her fingers into her throbbing temples. Too drained by the shower steam to even wash, she held onto the soap bar and let hot water run down her back. When she stepped out, she barely had enough energy to towel herself off, much less dry her hair. She combed the dark waves straight and dripping wet against her neck, then put on her pink uniform, shuddering as the cool nylon clung to her damp skin. Her eyes stung so much she could barely keep them open as she tugged the sheets off the bed and threw them onto the pile of clothes. But she had to leave all the lights on and the radio playing and the window wide open to keep herself awake, she thought, as she curled up on the bare mattress for just a minute, while the brisk September breeze rasped the crooked shade back and forth against the window frame. She woke up at 6:45. The coffee shop opened at 6:30. Wincing, she lifted her head slowly from the pillow, then made her way to the door. She had been late often enough, but she had never missed a day of work in any job. Fiona Range's teeth had been filled without Novocaine, her wounds stitched without anesthesia, her heart broken too many times to count. Once as a child, she fell from a tree and broke her arm, but didn't tell her aunt until hours later when her favorite show had ended. When she was 15, her appendix burst before she realized the severity of her day-long belly pain. Hearing that the same thing had happened to her mother as a girl had pleased her, because it was another brushstroke in the hazy portrait of Natalie Range, the wild young woman who drove off weeping one rainy afternoon, never to return. In the ensuing 30 years, her mother had not once called or written or cared, and Fiona was only the tougher for it. She still bristled whenever anyone in the family referred to her high threshold for pain. It seemed to reduce her strength to a blankness, a numbness, a dead nerve, a deficit, one more congenital flaw bequeathed by an errant mother and rumored father, Patrick Grady, the town eccentric who ignored her existence. 2 months ago, when she'd been evicted, her cousins declared her an emotional burden, a bigger drain on their parents than any familial responsibility warranted. And so